Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Distinguished guests, Al-Anon members, and fellow lepers. I am Chuck C., and I'm an alcoholic. Hi. What a beautiful bunch of people. You couldn't tell the players without a scorecard, could you? A lot of you drunks look like distinguished guests. There have been some changes made. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you at the outset that I'm most delighted to be here. I've been thinking for the last 7 or 8 years that my day was coming to an end. I've been on this circuit now for over 16 and a half years. And it seems to me that some of these days you all would be tired of me and let me off the hook. However, I'm very glad that you don't. I think if there were no people for me to talk with about this terrific program of ours, that I would just be talking to the birds and the trees and whatever there was around. Because I cannot contain myself. This is the most fabulous thing that anyone could get the feel of. And for those amongst us who might be new, if you haven't reached the point where you bless the day that you became an alcoholic, you will. I am an alcoholic. I am neither proud of it nor am I ashamed of it. That's the way it is with me. I'm an alcoholic who has not for 17 years and 4 months found it necessary to take a sedating or tranquilizing pill of any kind by the grace of God through the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, I haven't been sober 17 years and 4 months. I have been sober one day at a time. And they have piled up to 17 years and 4 months. And I would like to say again that, in my opinion, the pink cloud never has to get less pink, nor does the honeymoon have to get less sweet. I find no place in the book where it says the pink cloud gets gray after a while. And I find no place in my experience that says that the pink cloud gets gray. My life for 17 years and 4 months has continuously become better and better and better. And I am most grateful indeed. Now we might say to ourselves, how do you know whether you're an alcoholic or not? This seems to cause a lot of trouble amongst us. And it's really rather simple. We have three little questions in AA that are all very simple. They say if alcohol interferes with your personal life, or your social life, or your business life, any one of these three, maybe, any two of them, perhaps, and all three of them, you're cinched. I think there's one that's even better than those three, and a little bit more simple. Is it necessary for you to wonder whether or not you might be alcoholic? If it is, sign up with the secretary before you leave tonight. In 17 years, I have never caught one non-alcoholic wondering whether he's an alcoholic or not. It's always been an alky trying to beat this rat some way, you know? Now, I happen to be an alcoholic of the tongue-chewing, babbling, idiot variety. And many people hearing me or the likes of me talk say to themselves, well, those things haven't happened to me. Therefore, I am not an alcoholic. And they go out into the big wide world and kill themselves drinking. And never do get back. It isn't necessary that you become a tongue-chewing, babbling idiot variety of drunk. The thing that we should learn is that there are no degrees of alcoholism. We are either alcoholic or we're not. You can either drink well or you can't. And nobody has to tell you. You know it. And if you can't drink well, if you are a compulsive drinker, you're just as alcoholic as I am, even if you haven't had too much trouble yet. With no attempt to be facetious, but because it is a very good comparison. Alcoholism is like pregnancy. A gal is just as pregnant 15 minutes after conception as she is 8.5 months later. It just doesn't show as much, that's all. And so it is with alcoholism. We are either alcoholic or we are not. One or the other. And it is well to know that, so that you might not say to yourself, well, these things haven't happened to me. Therefore, I am not an alcoholic. Now, we also might say to ourselves, who is subject to the disease of alcoholism? Would it be just those who are physically weak? And we'd have to immediately rule that out. Because there are many very strong men and women in this room. I have seen quite a few here tonight that I have to look up to myself. Am I talking too loud? There are many very strong men and women in this society. There are world champions, All-Americans, people of great strength. I was talking at an anniversary not too long ago down in our neck of the woods, and there were 3 men that preceded me, and the 4 of us would have averaged about 6'3", and about 220 pounds. We looked a great deal like the backfield of a professional football team, of ancient age. And all the rest of them were pretty tough but me. And I looked at them and myself, and I had to laugh real good. Because all four of us put together couldn't handle 1 ounce of alcohol. I have a friend down home. He's much younger than I am. He's just a few years back. He was an All-American football player at SC. You take hold of his arm, and it's like taking hold of a steel post. He can't handle 1 ounce of alcohol either. So we would have to say, no, it is not just those who are physically weak who become alcoholics. Then we might say, well, is it just those who are mentally weak who become alcoholics? And we'd have to quick rule that out because we're here, aren't we? But besides us, there are some awfully smart people in AA. Very smart people. Doctors, lawyers, clergymen, businessmen, writers, professional people. A few days ago, I was yakking at another meeting down south, and the chap that was chairman for the evening had a Phi Beta Kappa key on him. He had a Ph.D. after his name. He is a professor at one of the local universities, and he is recognized as a world scholar, and yet he was not leading the meeting by proxy. He belonged up here. And so we would have to quick say, no, it isn't just those who are mentally weak who become alcoholics. And then we might say, would it be just those who are without any spiritual background? And we'd have to quick rule that out. I am sure that there is not a society in the world of equal numbers with AA that would contain more sons and daughters of preachers and men and women who have studied for the ministry or the priesthood, and priests and preachers, as does Alcoholics Anonymous contain. The woods is just full of them. And so we'd have to quick say, no, it wouldn't be just those who are without any spiritual background. And then we might say to ourselves, does alcohol alone cause alcoholism? And I think we'd have to quick rule that out. Because if alcohol alone caused alcoholism, every excessive drinker would become an alcoholic. But this is not true. There are many good Saturday night drunks who are not alcoholics at all. I have drunk with people who could get just as drunk as I did, and who did things that I never did, like coming home and cleaning out the house. Beating up their wives and their kids and tossing them out. I never did that. It was the other way around in my family. My good wife, God love her, used to beat me until her arms were blue to her elbows. And I never hit her in my life. God knows she needed it. I don't know why I didn't. Such a guy can get up in the morning and shake his head and say, uh-oh, got drunk last night, didn't I? And go ahead about his business. And he don't get any worse and he don't get any better. So we would have to say that alcohol alone does not cause alcoholism, in my opinion. What then would it be? It would be alcohol plus a spiritual, mental, and physical combination that is ready for this thing. That's the only way I can explain it to myself. Alcohol plus a spiritual, mental, and physical combination that's ready for it. Now, I'm sure in my own mind that there are only two classes of alcoholics who can fulfill the conditions for sobriety. The first class are those who have used up all of their own resources. When one has run out of people and places and things and health and sanity and money and liquor, it's pretty easy to fulfill the conditions. In crisis, it's not too tough. I happen to fall in that category. And the other class are those who come to see the nature of our problem. I am one who believes that it is absolutely necessary for an alcoholic either to run out of time or to come to see the nature of our problem, or he will not fulfill the conditions for sobriety. Why? Because the very first condition for sobriety is surrender. And an alcoholic can't do it. We were not built to surrender. We are a combination of paradoxes, a real complex of paradoxes, we alkies. How can we expect the world to understand this when we don't understand ourselves? Everything about us is backwards, you might say. How many times have you cried your eyes out at a beautiful sunset when you were too drunk to get up off the floor? It's just so pretty we can't stand it. Now, how are you going to explain this to the normal mind? It can't be done. My wife used to say to me, Chuck, if you loved me, you wouldn't do these things. Now, how could I tell her it was because I loved her that I did it? How are you going to get that over to a normal mind? And yet some of the worst drunks I ever got on in my life is because I knew that I was crucifying my wife and our children. And it hurt so bad that I couldn't stand it, and I had to get drunk and crucify them all over again. It's rough. An alcoholic don't like dirt. And how are you going to explain that to a normal mind? When you're lying in the gutter and the pig got up and slowly walked away. And yet how many times have you come off the drunk and the first place you got to after you could walk was the shower? And you'd stand in there and wear out 2 cakes of soap trying to get clean again. That's before we found that it was an inside job, you see. And as soon as you got cleaned up a bit, you'd get to the barber shop, get your hair cut and the beard scraped off your face. And get the best duds you got on your back. We don't like dirt. How dirty can you get? And an alcoholic don't like weakness. And how weak can you get? An alcoholic don't like weakness in anybody, and much more so in himself. We hate weakness. And thinking that weakness and surrender are synonymous. We cannot surrender. The strong man wins his battle, the weak man surrenders, and we can't do it. I never surrendered once in 43 years of life, not to God, man, woman, or the devil. I couldn't. It was bred out of me. If there are any practicing alcoholics in the room, and you haven't found that old drinking companion, the poem Invictus, please get it. It's the greatest drinking companion in the world. I had it for 20 years in my pocketbook. I knew it all the time, but every time it would wear out, I'd have my girl quick type it up again. And I'd get it back there. It was my credo for life. And what a drinking buddy it is. It goes something like this: out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods there be for my unconquerable soul. Let's have a drink. What a drinking companion. The next verse, out of the night, no. What is the next verse? No, that's the last one. Well, anyway, don't make any difference. That's the poem that I lived by for years. I've got to get this thing. It's got me whipped. In the foul clutch of circumstance, I have not winced or cried aloud. Thank you, brother. Beneath the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody yet unbowed. And here you start crying in your beer, you know. The whole world's against me, but they'll never lick me. And then the last verse: it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Now, how are you going to get a monkey like that to surrender? The answer is you don't. You just let that kind die until he can't die anymore. And when you can't die anymore, maybe you get lucky and find a society. But you see, either we have to run out of everything, or we have to come to see the nature of our problem. And when we can come to see that there's nothing ahead of us but an alcoholic death or permanent insanity, we can then fulfill the conditions any place between the first drink and the snake pit. And we don't have to go the whole way. But it's absolutely necessary that we come to see or run out of time, or we will not surrender. Why can't I drink successfully? I'm a big guy, 6'1" when I stand up straight, 190 pounds, split about half and half, half brain and half brawn, maybe a little heavy on the brain side. I can do nearly anything I want to. Why can't I successfully drink liquor? This was one of the things that just ran me nuts. In my last 10 years of drinking, people were saying to me all the time, "Chuck, you can't drink, you got to quit." And in almost every instance, they were people whom I recognized as my inferiors. I'd say, "Chuck, you can't drink, you got to quit." And I'd look at the pipsqueak, and I'd say to myself, "Why can't I drink? He does." And my answer to me was, "You can, and you got to prove it." And I kept right on trying to prove it for 10 years after I'd lost. And I never did know what was wrong with me until I came here and found out. I went to many places in that last 5 years particularly where I should have been able to find out the nature of my problem. I went to doctors, to men of the cloth, and to people who knew more psychiatry than there is. And invariably they talked to me about willpower and backbone and standing up and being a man. And I didn't think there was anything wrong with me in those departments. I was real proud of my backbone. I'd been making my own way since I was 13. And in the meanwhile, I'd been quite an athlete in my day. I thought my backbone was pretty good. My willpower was excellent. I could get liquor in Kansas on election day if it fell on Sunday. And it just depended on how high I was bouncing, how long it took. If I was bouncing about 3 feet off the sidewalk, it happened pretty fast. So my willpower was real good. My won't power might have been a little deficient, but my willpower was tops. And in the standing up and being a man department, I would have given them cards and spades. I had been a system man for years. I'd been hunting an answer, and I thought maybe I'd find it in one of the religious systems or philosophical systems, and I had taken them one after another. When I'd go through one and didn't find it, I'd get me another one. And I thought I was pretty good at it. At least I got a name out of it. I was known as a drunken deacon for the last 10 years. I was the guy that explained Catholicism to the Catholics, Judaism to the Jews, Mohammedanism to the Mohammedans. And so I thought I was pretty proficient in the standing up and being a man department, so none of them could help me. They didn't know the nature of my problem, and I didn't know it, and I couldn't help myself. So again, I had to run out of time and come here before I ever found out what was wrong with me. Why can't I successfully drink liquor? Because I'm an alcoholic. What is an alcoholic? An alcoholic is a person who suffers with the disease of alcoholism. The disease of alcoholism. Why didn't somebody tell me this? I never heard alcoholism spoken of as a disease until I got here. In my day, they didn't know. Thank God, many priests, preachers, doctors, psychiatrists, and lay people have made it their business to find out about alcoholism now. And they can tell us what's wrong with us, and they can tell us where we might go for help. But in my day, this was not true, and I had to come here to find out. And I have remained to find that, medically speaking, alcoholism is the third worst killer in the United States today, topped only by heart and cancer. It's second only to one of our social diseases as a cause for permanent insanity. And medically speaking, it is incurable. And that's what I got. I'm an alcoholic. It's pretty rough. Now, in the last 10 years, it's been my privilege to run around pretty much all over the United States and Canada, meeting alcoholics by the tens of thousands. And I've met many doctors in this time who've spent many years in research on the disease of alcoholism. And they have said that it is their private opinion that if the brain explosions and heart failures that should be attributed to alcoholism were, alcoholism would right now be the #1 killer in the United States. I just throw that in. I don't think it's very important. Whether we're first or third, we get show money, don't we? But it is a very, very serious thing. It's a matter of life and death. Now, the doctor defines the disease as a disease of a twofold nature. An allergy of the body coupled with an obsession of the mind. It is both physical and mental, according to the doctor. An allergy of the body coupled with an obsession of the mind. The allergy of the body meaning simply this, thank you, that my body cannot successfully handle alcohol. I cannot oxidize it, burn it up, and get rid of it. When I take one slug of liquor, I retain it. It goes into the bloodstream, into the brain. And it triggers some physical something that demands that I keep on drinking until my cycle is run. Now, this is not true with over 90% of those who drink liquor. It's only true of people like me, alcoholics. I am different from the guy that was saying, Chuck, you can't drink, you got to quit. Physically different. Now, don't ask yourself what the physical difference is, because there's a doctor in the world that knows. They know we are different physically, but they don't know what works too fast or too slow or don't work. So just don't spend any time on that. But there are a couple of things that seem to be very important that we remember all the time, every waking moment. Number one, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And I say this in spite of the fact that I read the article in Harper's a few weeks back. And I've heard much controversy on it in medical and psychiatric circles. In this article, they seem to think that somebody over in England had become a successful drinker again, but I didn't see him. And I have seen many who tried it that didn't make it. And I've had to bury quite a few. So until I know different, I will continue to say that once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. The next thing that we should keep uppermost in our consciousness is that the physical side of the disease gets worse with the passage of time. We get less able to react normally to alcohol with the passage of time, even during long, extended periods of total abstinence. Now, this fools so many of us. It is so easy for an alcoholic, after he's sobered up, gotten the wrinkles out of his stomach, a little money in his pocket, to think, well, it's been quite a few months now, or a few years since I've had a drink. So I've built me up some good drinking time. But this is a fallacy. I am actually 17 years worse off so far as successfully drinking liquor is concerned than I was when I came here. And I know it, because I have been active in this program for 17 years. And when you're active in the program, you never doubt this, because your friends are forever proving it for you. Probably the worst thing we're ever called upon to do is to sit in a dark room with that man or that woman who's sober for 10, 15, 20 years, who forgot. You sit there smelling that secondhand formaldehyde and that 30-day-old liquor oozing out of the pores, and listen to him cry, why? It's a heartbreak. But it makes it never at all necessary to wonder whether or not we can successfully drink. We know that the physical part of the disease gets worse with the passage of time, even during long extended periods of total abstinence. And lastly, there's no cure for it, for the body. If we had all the money in California, it wouldn't be enough to send me someplace for a cure. There isn't any such thing. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to accept the fact that that's the way it is with us. I have no more good drinking time left, period. And I never will have any good drinking time, period. Now, if seeing the physical side of the disease we could decide to quit drinking and quit, we wouldn't have a problem in the world. An alcoholic can see very quickly, as soon as it's explained to him, that it's the first drink that sets off the drunk. I never knew this. This never occurred to me till I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I thought it was the last gallon. I was trying to beat the rap, you see. I was trying to knock it off before the trouble started. And I got here and you told me it's the first drink. And I could see it so plainly. Now, this doesn't mean that an alcoholic gets drunk every time he takes a drink. We get awful cute as time goes on. I was a periodic for the last 10 years I drank. And I'd go into a regular build-up between drunks. I'd get as sober as them now, and I'd work at it. I'd eat well and sleep well and take my vitamins and exercise. And in the last 5 years, I added psychology and religion to that. I prepared on 3 fronts. And when I'd done all my analyzing and had decided not to do it that way anymore, I would start sampling very delicately. And I'd sample my way right on back to bed again. Now, we don't get drunk every time we take a drink. We get drunk every time we take a drink before we quit taking a drink. This starts the build-up for the drunk. And if seeing this we could decide to quit and quit, we wouldn't have a problem in the world. But this is impossible. Why? Because of the other half of the disease, the obsessions of the mind that cause us to drink. You see, when the body's dry, there is no physical demand for liquor. It's only after the first slug that the body takes over. The first drink is mental. The second drink and the 542nd drink are physical, but the first one is mental. And if you and I, being alcoholic, want to be rid of the bottle, we have to be rid of the mental obsessions that cause us to drink. You know, we've got a facility down our way for ladies. It's a place where they detain you without your permission. Corona. And there are a lot of gals out there, and a lot of them are alcoholics. Not very long ago, they got a hold of some lacquer thinner. Now, they hadn't been drunk for some little time. It's not easy to get liquor in those places. And so there wasn't any physical demand for a drink. But they found this lacquer thinner, and it was pretty high potency. And they decided to have a few nips. They did everything but run it through the loaf of bread, I guess, because they mixed it with milk. You remember when you used to drink a half glass of cream before you headed out for a drinking deal? And then you ate a quarter of a pound of butter. And then somebody told you about olive oil, and you drink a bottle of olive oil. Talking about going to any lengths. Well, they mix this stuff with milk and orange juice. And they got a pretty good glow out of it, I guess. But it sent 27 of them to the hospital, and 2 of them didn't come out. 2 of them died. Talking about obsessions of the mind. You know, it's just as silly for an alcoholic to decide to quit drinking as it is for a tubercular to decide to quit coughing. If the tubercular is going to get rid of the cough, he's got to be rid of the disease that causes it. And if you and I are going to get rid of the bottle, we have to be rid of the obsessions of the mind that cause us to drink. And the obsessions of the mind are greater than the willpower. So you don't hear anything about willpower and backbone and standing up and being a man around here. But we do have to be rid of the obsessions. And this takes some doing. And this is what our whole program is about. To rid us of the obsessions of the mind. Now we have a book, Alcoholics Anonymous, it's called. And we love it because it tells us about the nature of our problem. And it gives us a formula for recovery. But it also tells us why we couldn't do this thing alone. All the way through, the book says we lack the power. We lack the power. Lack of power was our dilemma, says the book. And it was obvious if we lacked the power, we had to find one. And it was just as obvious that it'd be a power greater than ourselves. This I believe as I believe I'm here, and for just as simple a reason. If I could have remained sober, I would not believe that. I could not remain sober, therefore I believe it. I lack the power. Where was the power when I was waking up in jail? You know something? I never did get to the place where I was comfortable in jail. I never did. I didn't like it in jail. And yet I think many of my friends thought I loved it. I was there so often. Where was the power when I was writhing in the floor, chewing my tongue full of holes and babbling like an idiot in an alcoholic convulsion? I almost said fit, and then I thought of our honored guest. But to me, just the same, it is a fit. Where was the power? It certainly wasn't operating in me. Where was the power when I would so completely deplete my own physical prowess to the point where I couldn't even lift my head up off the pillow? Couldn't even look under the bed to see if I had another bottle. My good wife would have to lift up my head and put some liquid in my mouth. There wasn't much power there. And yet, there is a place that was much more evident than any of these that I was talking about. Where was the power between drunks? When I was physically as sober as I am right now? Because between every two drunks in the last 10 years, I was physically as sober as I am right now. And I had built up a pretty good record by this time. A record to look at. And yet, where was the power? I'd be going home one night, feeling good, physically, back in the good graces of my household, in the good graces of the boss, money in my pocket. And I'm going home to dinner, and the idea hit me, you're going home to eat. Anybody knows one drink won't hurt you if you eat? Why don't you drop into Joe's and get a double? Where was the power? I dropped into Joe's and never did get home. I lacked the power. Therefore, I believe the book when it says that under certain circumstances, certain conditions, it seems there is only one defense against that first slug, the drink I must not take. And that is help from a power greater than ourselves. Now, how are we going to get the help? Thank God. Again, we have a formula. It's all spelled out. And all we have to do is to fulfill the conditions of the formula. And the first condition is found in chapter 3, where it says we learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. The second condition is in the preamble. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. And then the listing of the certain steps. Here are the steps we took. We're sober. Here are the steps we took which are suggested as a program of recovery. And then it lists 12 steps. Now all we got to do is fulfill these conditions to the best of our ability, one day at a time, and something happens and we don't have to drink anymore. There is a miracle here. A miracle that we don't bring about. A miracle that we don't even pray about. But a miracle that we do about. There are things here for us to do. It'd be nice if I could tell you all you got to do. Me and you get a fix. But it wouldn't be so nice at that. Because if I could give you this thing, I could also take it away from you. And I'm just mean enough to do it if you didn't do it my way. No man can give this to another. I am one who believes that there isn't any individual or isn't any program or isn't any God that can get me sober and keep me sober until I am willing to fulfill these conditions and do fulfill them to the best of my ability. How many times have you heard a person say, I tried Alcoholics Anonymous and it didn't work for me? Of course it didn't. Alcoholics Anonymous never worked for anybody, and it never will work for anybody. Alcoholics Anonymous is a way to do something, and it's the best way that has ever been devised for a drunk to get sober and remain sober. But it's a way to do something. It don't do the something, it's a way to do something. And it's up to us individually to fulfill these conditions to the best of our ability. And when we do that, something happens, and we don't have to drink anymore. The power is added. So if you want to get sober and stay sober, do these things. And if you don't do them. It's that simple. And you know something? It's because it is that simple that we have so much trouble with it. You know, you hear a lot in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting about the keen alcoholic mind. I said in an alcoholic meeting you hear that. We tell each other that. We don't hear it so much out yonder on the street, you know. But we like to tell each other about the keen alcoholic mind. And we look at this program with our keen alcoholic minds and we say, it can't be that simple. There must be a tougher way than this, and I'm going to find it. It's only because of the simplicity that we get into trouble. This thing works just the way it is when we work it. If we can get simple enough to concentrate on the black lines, again, this keen alcoholic mind, it says if there's so much meaning in these black lines, there must be something in these white lines here too. And we start reading between the lines. Or we start interpreting. Thank God I got here too late to interpret. And by the time I could have interpreted, I didn't need to. I was sober. They said to me, here are the steps we took. And I said, if they took them and got that way, I'm going to took them and see what happens to me. And that's all I've done for 17 years and 4 months. It's this simple. They're just two or three little things that throw us. Very small things they are, but they're very big. Because, again, we're dealing in life and death. Number one, we love to read that first step. We admitted that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable whilst drunk. Many of us read it that way for years, in our own minds, subconsciously, thinking that our lives are unmanageable whilst drunk, but persisting in the illusion that we're pretty cute operators when we're sober. And when we talk about insanity, we start telling about the insane things we did when we were drunk. Non-alcoholics do insane things when they're drunk. Our book isn't talking about the insanity whilst drunk. It's talking about the insanity between drunks. That will let us look at a 25-year record and come up with the profound conclusion, this time it's going to be different. This is the insanity that the book's talking about. It's different, all right. It's worse. It's like it always was. So we have a little trouble with that. And the next thing is, we look at the third step, and it says we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And we say, don't understand Him. I got to get me another book. I got to get me a tutor. And we get another book, and we read and nip and read, and then we nip and don't read. This, as we understood Him, has nothing to do with understanding the infinite. If it had, I would have died drunk 17 years and 4 months ago. Because when I got to this society, it was a major operation for me to tie my own shoes. It's a good thing there wasn't any necessity to understand the infinite. This means the necessity of individual experience only. God as I understand Him, God as you understand Him. My God, your God. Albeit it's the same one, you can't have mine. I looked for yours for 35 years before I got here. And mine found me. And nobody else will ever find him. He's mine. The necessity of individual experience made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to our own God. We don't have to do a lot of filling in this thing. We don't have to have a lot of knowledge that we don't have when we get here. The only ability we need is that comes with us to our first meeting. The only thing we need to add to our knowledge is the nature of our problem. And the only thing we need to do with our ability is to use it all. And when we use all that we have, what we don't have is added. The power is added. God helps those who help themselves. Simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. It's a fabulous thing. Let's get simple. Let's accept ourselves as we are and then do these things to the best of our ability, one day at a time, and let the miracle happen. Now I want to start over, but I'll take less time this time. I would like to keep on talking about the steps because I love them. I'd like to talk about all the traditions because I love them. I have 24 steps in my program, all these and the traditions too. But we haven't time to dwell on that and say what we want to. And I'm going to tell you what I think is the problem and what I think is the answer. I believe the doctor when he says the disease is twofold. I know that I have a knowledge of the body and an obsession of the mind. I cannot live and drink, and of myself I cannot keep from drinking. I am condemned by the obsessions of the mind to drink liquor, and I am condemned by the knowledge of the body to die if I do, and I know it. And so I agree, but I think there is another factor here. There is another part to the disease of alcoholism. A sickness of the soul. You know, as bad as was the physical torture, and as bad as was the mental anguish, there was another hurt that was so far bigger than those that had put him to shame. And that hurt was right in here. The hurt that comes with knowing that we're losing the battle of life. The hurt that comes with seeing people passing us up on the highway of life when we know they haven't our native ability, and yet they're going and we're going backwards. And we don't know what's wrong with us. We don't know our problem, and we're dying on the vine, and we don't know why. And the great hurt right in the middle of our being. A sickness of the soul. There has never been an answer from the beginning of time for an alcoholic except a basic spiritual rest. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very simple in my book. Why am I not drunk tonight? I'm an alcoholic. It's not normal for an alcoholic to be sober on Saturday night. Particularly if it's 500 miles from home and alone. Why am I not drunk tonight? Because I have the thing I was looking for in the bottle. I've got the thing. Now, what is the thing? I don't hurt it in here anymore. That king-size hurt is gone. I'm not fighting me, and I'm not fighting you, and I'm not fighting my God. I'm at peace with me and you and my own God. And that's the only reason that I'm not drunk. If there were a fight between me and the bottle, I would lose it before midnight. I never won it in my life, and I can't win it now. My only chance is that I don't hurt in here. That's the only hope I've got. Now, inasmuch as a basic spiritual rest is the only answer there has ever been since the beginning of time, to me, it is kindergarten. That's the problem behind the problem. Coming before and maybe even farther to the knowledge of the body and the obsessions of the mind is a basic spiritual unrest. Now I'm going to look at myself for just a minute. I've got 17 years of sobriety to look at. I've got 25 years of drinking to look at, and the time before that. And in looking at myself, I see that I was fighting life long before I ever fought the bottle. I never had a drink until I was through athletics. I was always in training. And yet, looking clear back as far as I can go, I see that I was always fighting life. I was a rebel. I was a misfit from the very beginning. And I am not at all inclined to believe that it was my fault. And I am not trying to rationalize a thing. There's nothing that I can gain by rationalization because I have nothing to prove and I'm not going anywhere. But in looking at me, I was one of 5 kids. I wasn't the top or the bottom. I was the middle of the deck. We came along boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, and I was third. And we had the same mother and the same father and the same food and the same church and the same schools, and everything was the same environment. And I'm the only alcoholic in the bunch. And it wasn't because I wanted it that way. It wasn't because I wanted to be a rebel that I was. I could not integrate myself into the life around me because I did not like it. And I am very sure it is because of the combination of characteristics with which I was born. You know, if there's one thing that this program has taught me, from the top of my longest hair to the soles of my feet, it's that the first 2 words of the Lord's Prayer are correct. We'll be saying that prayer in a few minutes now. Our Father. If there's one thing I am totally convinced of, right out of my experience in this fellowship, it is that those words are true. We are our Father's children. And all of us are our Father's children. And as such, all of us have, to a degree, the characteristics that I'm about to mention, but not in the combination of the alcoholic. Now, every alcoholic that I have ever known fits into this pattern. And therefore, I think that this is a pretty good combination that we have. And we all have it. We're alike as black-eyed peas. In my book, there's only 2 classes of alcoholics. 2 kinds, male and female. And we're as alike as black-eyed peas. And every alcoholic that I have ever known is a perfectionist, an idealist, with that terrific drive that goes with perfectionism. We cannot settle for less than the best. Now, perfectionism is good and bad. It's good because of the drive. It's bad because it will not let us settle for less. And we look at life, and we don't like it because it is not according to our pattern. And we try to make it over. We demand perfection out of everybody around us. I came awful close to ruining my own wife and our own kids and everybody else that I touched because I demanded perfection out of all of them. And it's real tough when you demand perfection out of society and it isn't there. You can't join it and you can't make it over. And you're in a mess. Every one of us perfectionists, idealists. Secondly, there is an alcoholic that lives that wasn't born with the interior awareness that life can be good and big and beautiful. From the time I was born, I knew that the life that I live now was the kind I wanted. And I couldn't find it. There's a little thing in the show, The Days of Wine and Roses. I haven't seen the picture, but the 2 television shows I saw. And you remember when that girl was standing up there in the window looking over New York and her husband was begging her to join him in the program? She was standing looking out over New York, and finally she says, I can't. She says, when I look out at this window sober, it's dirty and it's ugly. But when I look out drunk, it's beautiful. This just tears the very heart out of me. Because for 25 years of my life, the only way I could stand what I looked at was to be half drunk. Because my insides told me that life was a big and beautiful and good thing, and my experience showed me that it wasn't. And lastly, emotion. The psychiatrist tells us that we're emotionally immature. I don't believe it. I think we're people that are born with 10 times the emotional capacity that the normal person has. We are most sensitive, and we wear our feelings on our shirt sleeves, and everything in life hurts us. People hurt us, places hurt us, things hurt us, and we get hurt, and we early start building the wall to keep out the hurt. And we're all just alike. Now, I don't believe it's emotional immaturity. I've been up here at Folsom. Stood up there in front of a bunch almost as big as this and watched them cry right along with me. Incidentally, I have the privilege of going up there again tomorrow. And I've seen these old boys with the tears running down their cheeks just like mine. And it wasn't because they were emotionally immature. It was because of the great identity. They hurt just like I hurt. And they knew this great aloneness of the alcoholic. And so with a combination of this kind, we walk alone. I walked alone for 43 years, and it wasn't because I didn't want to belong. I craved to belong. But I couldn't belong, and I walked alone. We wanted to be a part of, and we were forever apart from. And something had to happen. Something had to happen. And thank God. I eventually ran out of my own resources, came here, and did the thing that the book said to do. And something did happen. And I got a new pair of glasses. This program has given me a totally new outlook, a new vision, a new hearing, a new action pattern, a new set of values, a new pair of glasses, and now life is what I always knew it should be. And I've never had to walk alone since my first meeting, because some part of you went with me. And I came back home, did these things, and found what I thought I had found in the bottle. Fabulous thing. Alcoholism is a living problem, a total living problem, and you and I have to have a total living answer. And thank God, here it is. Here it is. And it's for free, but not for the asking, for the doing. And I, for one, am one who believes that it isn't the whim of a capricious God. I think that every person that does these things finds the thing. I do not believe it's something that might be withheld or granted. I believe it's something uncovered. Back in 1066, there was a guy that lived by the name of Brother Lawrence. He wasn't even a priest. He was just a brother. And talking to one of his people, he said, if you'd find God, look deep within yourself, because it's the only place you're ever going to find Him. And so with you and I, if we're going to look deep within ourselves, there's some uncovering to do. There's some witness to wash. There's some clearing away the wreckage of the past. And we do that in the practice of these principles. In the surrender, we're temporarily without the ego. And without the ego, we don't need its children. And what are its children? Self-pity, resentment, lies, deceit, judgment, hate. All these things we peel off like peeling a banana in the practice of these principles. And pretty soon we have uncovered the thing we've been looking for a lifetime. It's fabulous. Of all peoples, I think we're the most blessed, the most fortunate. Because, you see, we didn't choose this way of life. We came here by the accident of total failure. And we did these things not for a living answer, but just that we might find a way of life that didn't include liquor. And at long last, we woke up to the fact that the conditions for sobriety and the conditions for the good life and the conditions of God are the same set of conditions. And the answer to the disease of alcoholism is truly a living answer, the answer to the riddle of life. And it's nothing other than a personally satisfactory, personally acceptable, conscious partnership with the living God that made us in the total business of living. It's a fabulous thing. Right quickly, I'll be 61 years old. And this is the only easy life I've ever known. The only good life that has ever been mine in a lifetime. And this I could not do. All of my wit and wisdom got me nothing but failure. At the ripe old age of 43, failure as a husband, a father, a businessman, a man, and a drunk. This I did. And then I came here, and you said, here are the steps we took. We're sober. I saw and felt something that I wanted more than life. And I did these simple things. And this is what happened. I've been sober now from my first meeting. My family was put back together. My business was put back together. I own the business they threw me out of. I feel a little sinful to mention it because it's a big business. But that's the way it is with me. I have people like you all over the world, people that love me and people that I love. And I have me a God that is with me like a shadow, and with whom I share everything, both the good and the bad. A fabulous life. And I didn't do it. This, by the grace of God, through the miracle of AA. And I think it not strange to ask for guidance, direction, and power in all things I do. And I think it not strange to believe that every good and perfect gift is from His hand. And I think it not strange to thank Him with every breath I draw, every conscious moment of my life. This, the good fortune of peoples like you and like me. And I close with this little prayer that I got 12 times for Christmas. I love it. It's so simple and so good. It says, may the roads rise with you. May the winds be always at your back. May the good Lord hold you in the hollow of his hand. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.